Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk, episode 312. The old truck guy, Zac Brouillette, coming at you. The guy has a fleet of trucks. You're going to hear all about it. Here we go. 312 coming at you.
I wasn't into like the 70s, 80s, and 90s until probably the last 3 or 4 years. And honestly, a lot of that was people kept asking me, do you have this stuff? Do you have anything like this? Do you have any 70s? That's why I would say the 67 to 72 just started catching fire. And guys couldn't find short beds, so I was finding long beds. And I'd go find it one day and the next day it would be gone. So then all of a sudden it became square bodies. You know where any square bodies are? Yeah, my guy in the junkyard, he's got 4,000 cars and there's a lot of stuff. I've walked by short bed square bodies 100 times, so I started grabbing those and bringing them back. So for me, going to the junkyard is kind of like a fishing trip. It's a lot of times I'll go there, I don't even know what I want, but that's what I told one of my buddies, Puddin', is a great day for me. A birthday is like going on a junkyard walk, finding something good, getting a good meal, dragging it home, getting it cleaned up, and then ideally trying to get it running. That's like, if I could do that every day, that's me living the dream, literally. So, I mean, I'm kind of doing that right now, so I can't complain.
Damn, son.
Hey guys, let me tell you about LMC Truck. Keeping generations on the road. Think about that. It's pretty deep. So whether your truck was handed down or something you went out and bought, odds are you were handed a bunch of paperwork, maybe a folder. In that folder was probably the catalog. You know the one. The most up-to-date and detailed catalog available today. It's like an encyclopedia for our trucks. Their website is just as detailed and informative. lmctruck.com. lmctruck.com. So whether you're restoring old memories or creating new ones, LMC Truck is here to help. They're more than just a parts company. They truly understand the lifestyle and passion of owning a classic truck. So get out there and get to work on your truck and know that LMC is here to help. You can get online, lmctruck.com, and order your free catalog today. Keeping generations on the road. lmctruck.com.
Let me tell you what Melbourne Post is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Did that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 Truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Got the ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth flapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
What up, C10 Nation? Coming at you, just a little post-Easter episode, 312. Hopefully you guys enjoyed 311. Obviously the LS-LT swap and a C10 or a GM truck 60 to 98 with Jefferson Bryant. That episode got a lot of love. I got a lot of messages, emails. Every time I did a post, you guys were saying that you really enjoyed it. So if you guys are listening and you didn't check it out, check out 311. His audio was a little low. I do have the video. I need to put it on YouTube, so I'll try to get to that here in the next day or two. His audio is pretty low, so I might have to play with that in editing format. But we've got 312, Zac Brouillette. And how did I find Zac? Well, he's the old truck guy on social media, and he has a lot of trucks. Now, most of them are a little older. You're going to be in your advanced design, your Tri-5, your Task Force. But he's getting into the C10s and the squares. Running wild over there in Oklahoma. So, yeah, it was good to get to know him. And he's on a journey. He's making a transition where he is a strength and conditioning coach. And he sees the future. He knows he can't do that forever. And he's getting into what he loves. And turns out he's a lot like us. He loves old trucks. So cool to have Zac on and shoot the shit with him. Just got back from Montana up there in the motherland. Had some vacation, family, birthday stuff going on. And boy, had a good time. Weather was good up there. So hopefully you guys all had a great Easter. Let's see. Speaking of Montana and Big Sky Classics. So that is me. And as I branch off a little bit here, I have some different ideas. And one of those things that we're going to offer at Big Sky Classics is PRP, Precision Replacement Parts. So if you need it, we've got it. Get on over to BigSkyClassics.com, BigSkyClassics.com. Let me know what you're looking for, and I can get you some numbers on anything and everything PRP, Precision Replacement Parts. You can just run on over to PRP.com, and you can type in what you're looking for, and then you say, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want, and I can get you some numbers on that. So PRP, BigSkyClassics.com. Some shows coming up. Some we will be hitting, some we will not. I just thought I'd put a little bit of a list together here. Next up for us is going to be Moab. So that's going to be, I think that's like the 16th and 17th in Moab. That's going to be the C10 Red Rock Retreat, and that's their inaugural show. So that should be a good time. They've got the cruise on Friday night, and then the show on Saturday. I believe that's the 16th and 17th. Then you've got something that Mike Brooks, who is C10 Club New York, asked me to give a little shout out. They are going to do a C10 Invasion. Now, it's not going to be essentially its own show, but it's going to be an entity of the Syracuse, New York show, and that's July 18th through the 20th. So C10 Invasion is going to be part of that up there in Syracuse, New York. So if you're up in that area, hit up C10 Club New York, Mike Brooks, and he can get you dialed in on anything going on with the C10 Invasion up there in New York. Then, let's see here, we have C10s on the Capitol, and that is going to be August 16th, so that's in Olympia, Washington. Todd and Jen Manchester. C10s on the Capitol, August 16th, up in Olympia, Washington, the complete and total other side of the world, Pacific Northwest from New York. Then, let's see, moving over to, down to California, up there in NorCal, August 30th and 31st, you've got the C10 Intervention, and that they do the Saturday night cruise, the 30th, and then they do that show on the 31st. That's always going to be that Labor Day weekend, so that must mean Labor Day is on September 1st. Meaning that the intervention is the 30th and 31st. Good luck on that one. Okay, then you got the Triple Crown of Rotting, which is a great show. We went to the inaugural show. We didn't go last year. I'd love to get back out there. Depends on how everything's going with the SEMA build. That's going to be September 5th and 6th, and that is at the Super Speedway out there in Nashville. So Tennessee, Super Speedway, Triple Crown of Rotting, a really good show. All right, let's get into this show. Before I get into Zach's show 312, I just want to let you guys know I recorded 313, which is Ben Napier. And Ben is the man that can do it all out of Laurel, Mississippi, him and his wife, Erin, and they have the HGTV show Hometown, Laurel, Mississippi. So if you've ever seen Ben, he's had a various different trucks and rides on the show. Thought it would be great to get to know Ben a little bit, so he will be 313 next up. Okay? This past weekend, they did drop the D-Book Blazers. I'm sure you guys followed some of that hype. I want to thank Sam Castronova. I was again out of town, and he was able to grab me a pair, and then I was also able to grab some online yesterday. So people are like, hey, where do I get them? The blue ones, I believe, are only in stores. Your green and yellow, or ochre, if you will, you can get those at Sneakers, SNKERS. That's the app. They're probably all gone, depending on your size. Goat, GOAT. I get some shoes there every now and then, so that's the Goat. And I would just do a random search online. Even now at this point, eBay probably has them. My advice is if you didn't get them on the first day, the hype's going to get a little crazy, and it's a gamble. It's a risk. Do you buy them in the next week or so and pay a little extra, or do you wait till they come down? And or will they come down? I think they will. I think after the hype simmers, you'll be able to find them and save a little bit of money. But I honestly don't know. I don't know if it's one of those things where did they only make a certain amount, which I have heard that it is a limited run. I got to feel if it's something that's that popular, they'll come back, but we'll see. So you got a few different options. You got some lows and some mids and some different colors. Obviously, the concept is very cool. I did a post on social where just the wrapping, the inner wrapper was awesome. I mean, it's all blazered out, and they did a really good job. Nike, Blazer, D-Book, the whole thing. So Chevy, Blazer. All right, Zach is up next. Again, have a great week. Thanks for tuning in to 312. Hope you enjoy just, shooting the shit with Zach. And then again, 313 will be back with Ben Napier from Hometown. All right, guys, have a great week. Stay out of trouble. Do what you do. Late. All right. What up, C10 Nation? Coming at you, Wild and Willie. We're Monday. We've got Zac Brouillette. Probably almost, if I say Zac Brouillette, is that fancier? Is that the technical way of saying it?
That's what I think. That'd probably be the French way. I had a coach that called me that for years, and I just let it go. I thought, it sounds kind of fancy. I sound like a painter or something. Brouillette.
Yeah. I think I would definitely be like, hey, Brouillette. So Zac Brouillette, you guys will be like, well, who the hell is Zac Brouillette? Zac is at the Old Truck Guy, and like we talked about a little bit, Zac, this is going to be a little bit of one of those pods where we go from C10 Talk to what's called Rescuing Rad. My audience might not even realize that that's the transition that I'm looking to do, but your first time on the pod and probably my first Rescuing Rad style of pod. Found you on social media. You just crank it out. You're always playing and working on trucks. I think the biggest thing that I saw that was really cool, and I'm like, all right, we got to get this guy on, is you have a new business front, essentially, where you got this new building. So you're getting ready to take on or go to another level, I presume. But I don't know. And that's why you're sitting in front of me today. We're going to have fun. Tell us a little bit about Zac and what your background is, how you got into old trucks, and let's just shoot the shit.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on, first of all. Like I said, my first podcast, I've listened to tons, consumed tons of social media, things like that. I think that's one of the things unique. I'm almost 40, is we came up in that era where a lot of the social media was just starting to evolve and come out, and kind of got to walk right along with it. So that's really helped me in kind of my social media presence, is just consuming a ton. From in college was kind of when Instagram and Facebook came out my freshman year, just to navigate some of that stuff. So I almost have a PhD in social communication, watching, consuming, things like that. So as far as how I got into what I'm doing is, I grew up in a car family. We have a family body shop, Brouillette Body Shop, that's in Sioux City, Iowa. My grandpa started that back in 1959. Going back, he was Army Air Corps mechanic and then worked as a supervisor for the body shop at the local Chevy dealer. So he branched out when he was 42, a few years later than where I'm at right now, and he started our own family body shop. My dad took that over in 82. My dad just went to technical school, body man, businessman, jack all trades, Mr. Fix-It type kind of guy. So that's where I grew up in, was always going down to the shop, seeing what they're working on. Contrary to what people think, is my dad's not a classic car guy at all. He was a body man, insurance jobs, run the business, hated rust, didn't want anything to do with it. So I was more into the old cars. Kind of, my grandpa had some of that stuff in him, and just seeing pictures, things like that. But hanging around the body shop, every once in a while, my dad would take on a custom car, but man, that was rare. It'd be more like one of the guys who worked for him would be doing it in the paint booth, so I'd sneak in there like, oh, laying down flames. Let me see how you guys do that. So it was just always in my blood. I had no money. Grew up, broke on food stamps coming out of school. So I was always a wheeler and dealer. As I started selling stuff on eBay in 1999, I was in 7th grade. I was buying and selling paintball guns at that point, trying to fix some stuff up, sell it, make a couple bucks. And then I moved on to buying and selling mopeds. At the end of the year in college, a lot of people would dump their moped. They were done with it for the year. As one of the cheap, Chinese ones. I'd go pick them all up, try to get them running, detail them, and then list them for sale the following fall and try to get a little better money out of them. So I was always just buying and selling stuff. That was how I really got by to do what I wanted to do. And then as I got older, was always into old trucks, and I wanted one for myself. So originally, my wife would laugh at this story. We were engaged, and I was looking for an old truck, and I went and looked at a 1964 Ford. I think they were asking like $2,500, covered in primer, but they said they drove it from Kansas to Iowa. So I thought, well, it's a run and driving truck. I might have something here. We went and looked at it. It was a 3 on the tree. I didn't know how to drive a 3 on the tree. So I test drove it around the block in first gear. And I told my wife, I don't think I'm going to buy it, but I made them a low ball offer and they took it. So that was the first time I owned an old truck. That was like 2014. I really wanted to buy it and fix it up for our wedding. Got it close, ended up not taking it to our wedding, but that was what pushed me to get it done. Is I painted it in my driveway. I changed my first water pump, my first carburetor, all that kind of stuff. And from then I was just hooked. As I moved to Oklahoma in 2016, and I always like to buy one, fix it up, flip it here and there. Ultimately trying to buy something nice was my goal. And then I was just finding more than I could fix up and get ready. So that's, my dad kind of pushed me in. You know, if you can find a spot, see if you can start getting some and have a little collection going. And that was close to 10 years ago. And here we are. Now I got 90 some trucks. I'm just moving into my first building. I'm getting ready to get my dealer's license, and I'm committed to just taking it to the next level.
Well, that's very ironic. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is that is exactly what, and before I even knew any of that, that is my plan as well. I don't have 90 trucks. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay, I turned my volume down and I turned you down a little bit, but yeah, so this is going to be interesting because I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got more than I can fix up. I feel like I want to hoard them all. I come up with a plan and a soul for every one of them, and it's interesting to hear you talk about your dad, because your dad is probably more the business guy. He looks at them from hey, this is an object that I can make money off of, and you as well. When you look at like flipping scooters and things like that, the trucks for whatever reason have more of a soul, and that's where I really do. My weakness is like I build it, I give it a personality. I sold a Chevy Love, like probably a 73, that first gen Chevy Love truck bed yesterday to a guy. I bought the bed and the tailgate because I just love old tailgates, and it was a red orange tailgate. So I bought it, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just sell the bed. And the guy shows up, and I'm like, hey, are you gonna just crush this? Because I gave it away. I gave it $20. I go, I don't even care. And he goes, oh, I'm gonna make a trailer for it. And I'm like, you know what? You're giving me the $20. You do whatever you want. But my body is saying, dude, I hope you don't crush this, because I just feel like, don't crush it. This bed is 50 years old, and it's got character, and it's really a nice bed. So it'll be interesting to see and follow. And I see how much you have. Do you buy these trucks, and do you think, okay, some of these are going to be parted out, or do you try to keep them whole?
I try to keep everything whole if I can. I've bought maybe one truck that was for parts, but my goal, so probably 10 years ago, is my long-term goal was to have a shop where we could rebuild these and get them back on the road. So that's still somewhat of a goal, but honestly, the more I talk to people about outfitting a shop and getting people to work for you and not to cause problems, and this is, I steer a little bit away from it, just because the commitment, what that would take to have that done, I'm just not ready for that yet, to manage a full shop of workers and this and that. So I'm more into, if I find something that's sitting that I think could be a project for somebody that deserves a potential second lease on life, I tell people I'm like the Humane Society, or a little bit of the dog pound for old trucks. I try to get them here, clean them up, give them a good home. If we can find somebody else that has a big vision for them, sure. As I have the probably dozen or so that I'm in love with that won't leave. But for the rest of it, it's like, we'll bring you into our place, show you a good time, treat you right, throw some white wall tires on you most likely, and then try to find you a good home if we can. If I was a millionaire, I'd keep them all and we'd build them. But I'm far from a millionaire, so a lot of this is my survival. I got 2 kids and a wife and a house. That this was a side business that was supplementing my income after COVID. Everybody was hurting, and that's really why I got into it, was I needed to supplement what I was doing.
Well, let's jump back. I can't wait to kind of jump forward, but jumping back, you're from Iowa. You went to Iowa City. You're a Cyclone. You played football, I think you said there. Take us from that point. How does a kid from Iowa go from playing football at Iowa State and then end up in Oklahoma? What's your story there?
So right when I got out of school, is I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach. I was a fat kid growing up, and then all of a sudden I had a coach in high school that really shifted my life, my body, my life, my mentality, all that kind of stuff. And that was a big mentor. And I thought, this is a good avenue. You can have an impact on people. Some of the big time strength conditioning coaches make big time money. I thought this is a path that I could go on. So I chased that path heavy and hard for probably 10, 15 years, moved all over the country, worked at Iowa State, Ohio University, moved down to Florida, lived in Louisville, Kentucky. That's just the early coaching life, moving all over. But I was always into old cars and trucks. I just had no money to. Oops. I had no money to buy any of that stuff. So it was always just, window shopping, love going to junkyards, but I would just look. So fast forward 2016, moved to Oklahoma, took my job here with OU. And then I just was seeing old trucks and stuff everywhere. So I used to just put one on a trailer in my driveway. My neighbors probably hated me, but I would be out there. I used my trailer as a lift. I'd work on it, try to get things running. And I just buy one, fix it up, sell it, go on to the next one. And that started 2015, 16-ish. And then I just started discovering all these junkyards, and I was finding trucks quicker than I could get them and fix them up. So really that took me to finding a piece of land, someplace where I could park these things and work on them as I felt necessary, and have somebody, if you're looking for a project, that's what I always encourage people, come walk around and look. And I don't have a website. I don't post my inventory. That's what I tell people is I work a 40-hour a week normal job, that this is really a hobby, that I would love for it to be my full-time gig, but we're just not quite there yet.
Yeah, that's I love the story. And a lot of people, right, they have a quote unquote real job. I have a real job, and then this is the hobby and the passion. And it's cool that you can turn that into said hobby into a potential earning income that potentially could take over. I hope that if it does, that it doesn't get to be one of those things where then it becomes a job. And I think old trucks and meeting people, to me, that's almost the funnest thing is, tell me about this truck I just picked up, of all things. Again, we're in rescuing rad mode, so the audience doesn't know any of this yet, but I just picked up a 93 Ford Lightning, one owner. And I've of course recorded the whole thing. That'll be like the first episode, but I'm a firefighter, and we went to a fire, and the next day we went back to check on the house, and we drive by, and I'm like, shit, that's a Lightning. And so I'm originally from Montana, and I see Montana plates on both the Explorer and the Lightning. So I'm like, okay, make a note, come back, and knock on the door. And the old boy is in there, and then he said, hey, I got company. Come back and let's chat it up. So we made a deal. But I just love meeting the guy and the story, and the metal becomes part of it, but it's the human connection. And this guy literally said, I bought that truck April 18th of 1994 with my wife on vacation and my two kids sitting in my old truck that I drove and traded in, and I left the dealership. I had watched these two Lightnings, a red Lightning and a black Lightning, and the red one sold. He goes, I was going to buy the red one, and it sold, so I bought the black one. And I guess 30 years later, he had picked up a couple other cars, a 67 Cougar and a 55 Ford Fairlane. And he goes, the only reason you even saw this thing is because I picked up the Ford Fairlane like a month ago, backed up the Lightning, and it was outside. You would have never saw it, type deal. And the other thing is, I like what you're saying is, and I kind of wonder what your approach is it's hard to tell people. I've got one truck I've worked for over 5 years. The guy just is not budging. And he says, oh, it's going to go to my grandson. And I said, hey, bro, first of all, the number one answer that I'm going to love is you telling me you're giving it to a family member. But at this point, I saw that thing sit there for 5 years. I've been to your house probably 3 times, 4 times a year. So let's just call it a dozen times. It ain't moving. And I almost just want to give him a wad of cash and say, ask your grandson if he wants this or he wants that. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I want that truck, and I want it to go to somebody else if I don't keep it. And at this point, we need to move these down the road. You're not gonna fix them up, and come up with a way of saying that real nice. I'm sure that you kind of do the same thing. Or do you have more people calling you to give you the trucks, or do you find them and then work them? And then what's your batting average?
I would say it's almost case by case, but those are the hard ones when you get a real story like that, where it was a guy's and he gives you, all the detail and the history. Those are the ones for me that are the hardest to let go of, especially if I don't know where they're going. Is the one that I just find and fix up a little bit that I'm not tied to at all, no big deal. But the one like that the guy had the story, he bought it new, and all those memories is tough. But as far as how I approach people, I get some people that reach out to me as they have, right now you got a lot of, okay, my dad passed away. He was a collector of all this old stuff. We don't know what to do with it. It's not our wheelhouse at all. It's something you might be interested in, or do you know anybody? So those are the ones that I love. That's really the next step I want to go to, is doing consignment stuff for kind of groups like that. Is, say, a girl I went to high school with, her dad has 40 trucks. He's not doing well. She has no idea how to liquidate or get top dollar. So I want to be the guy that, I know the market, I can help, we can advertise and market and get it out. And that's the next step. But as far as approaching people, you gotta be careful. That's what some people are really connected to this stuff, have deep memories that they never want to give it away. They never want to sell it. But then they change their mind. I've worked on stuff for 4 to 6 years at junkyards where, same thing, his grandson it had his name on it. I might as well stop asking. But every time I'd go there, I'd just chip away. Hey, your grandson showing you more interest in that? And I must ask that 10 times. And then the last time I went up there, he said, my grandson does nothing but play video games. He's got no interest in these trucks. I'm getting older. Whatever you want, let's start making numbers on stuff. And I thought, this is the moment. This is why I've come and asked and asked and asked and never pushed, but just nicely, hey, you ever thought about that? I got some, we can make this happen. We can get it from out under the tree and out of the bad weather. And then finally, that opened up like 6 trucks.
And kind of give it a new lease on life, where you're like, hey, if that old truck has a soul, which I believe it does, and you do as well. That's why you want to keep it in or give it to your family member. But it's like, let's get it out on the road. Let's get it back out into the pasture, or out on the racetrack or whatever. From a horse perspective, is like, it's just sitting here. Let's get it going and let's have some fun. Somebody out there will want this, and I want to find them. And if you want to stay in touch with that person, then we can do that. But at the end of the day, let's get it. It's been there for 5 years, and the older you get, the faster things go. So before you know it, you're like, holy shit, I've been talking to this guy for 5 years. That's crazy. 5 years. And it's pretty crazy. Another thing I wonder, because you've been all over the country, obviously Iowa to Oklahoma, Kansas, over to Florida, what are you seeing? Are you seeing more kind of like where you're at right now? I mean, Iowa and Oklahoma, that Nebraska, there's a lot of old metal around there still.
Yeah, honestly, that's really why I pursued it with just more energy and effort. Was I'm at the honey hole of where this stuff is I got Nebraska just north, Texas just south. Texas is just littered full of these old trucks. There's auction after auction down there, and I'm 2.5 hours from Dallas. I can get up to Kansas in same time, just kind of centrally located. I'm far enough south that I don't have to deal with a lot of the salt stuff. That's up in Iowa and up in that area. As I didn't know an old truck that had solid rocker panels or a floor. I just thought every truck rots out, right? So that's what, getting down here, just seeing tons of it. And honestly, how much old iron people have sitting in their yards or in the neighbor's yard, or they bought a second property and dad just kept all the cars there and there's 100 cars parked out there. I know we talk with some other people who are more north and east, and they're like, we don't see any houses with cars parked out back. And maybe that's Oklahoma's a little looser on zoning. They let you have some cars in the backyard. But that's I just thought is there's so much surplus old cars down here and trucks, and a lot of these guys who own this stuff, they're passing on, and it either gets crushed or a family member comes in and sells the whole works. And sadly, like kind of what's going on at CTC Auto Ranch, they're just crushing out all that stuff. I mean, thousands of old cars are going to be crushed, which is sad, but it's a business for them, and they're selling the land. The land has the value. So I don't have hard feelings towards anybody doing that, because they're doing the best for their situation. So I know it upsets people, but you got to see the big picture in somebody's life.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I see that, and the metal, I believe, is going to go up in value with everything going on from the tariffs perspective. But if he's got a guy like you and says, hey, I'm willing to give you $100 more than what you're going to get at scrap. Let me pull this thing out, especially as you get bigger and evolve and have property. There's got to be a balance there where it's like, and then maybe someday you're like, hey, I've got to start scrapping this stuff because I've got way more than I ever thought I could handle. Or, because I don't know what let's just call it a 71 C10 long bed. I have no idea what that brings for scrap, but I'd be interested to see what it brought for scrap.
$300 probably.
So I mean, $500 for you is like, it's a no brainer, right? I mean, you got to go get it. You got to haul it. You got to do all that. But I think that, there's got to be a little bit of where you're like, hey, if you've got an old truck, you've got a classic, I don't know, maybe you say 98 or older, and you're like, give me a call and let's work a package deal and so on and so forth, because he's in the business. He's got to get rid of them. And a lot of them are probably picked apart. So I get some of that too. But sometimes I see these guys crush like complete trucks, and you're like, are you kidding me? I mean, a good C10 bed, 71 cab. I mean, that's $1,000 to $3,000 depending, on rust and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's a weird cycle we're in right now, but I'm glad there's guys out there that are literally rescuing these trucks, rescuing these vehicles, and you're one of them, and you've turned it into a passion and a profitable business.
Yeah, it's been good, honestly. I think these old junkyard guys, they get beat up over the years, and I think they get wore out, and they don't want to deal with people. Because they're crushing trucks that I could sell for $2,000 to $3,000, and they're happy getting, or not happy, maybe content getting the 250. But a lot of these guys, they've been doing it for a while. They just get grumpy, and they don't want to deal with people. They don't want to move stuff. They don't want to get lowballed, so they just kind of give up. So I'm not a lowballer. I always ask, where are you at? I always have them give me a number, and we'll go from there. If they play the game of, well, throw me an offer, I try to give something respectable. And be in good standing with these guys. I tried to save a couple trucks out of the line down at CTC. I was going to give $600 to $700 per truck, which was more than double salvage, but I was too late. He called me. The few that I had my eye on that were already in line had been crushed. The car crushers, they're trying to get in and out of there fast. Everyone they see is dollar bill, get it on the truck, get it to the scrapyard, let's go. I tried to intervene without being over the top or being disrespectful. In that instance, I just didn't have any luck. So, that's what some people get pissed and sad and this and that. I know they're running a business. They've been running it for 35 some years. And I can respect that. So I try to save everyone, but I know I can't. It's on to the next one and put my energy into something useful.
You're smart. And it probably, 5 minutes, it stings pretty hard, maybe a few days, and you're like, God, I can't believe that got away from me. But you're right. You just have to move on. And what is crazy is often I tell myself this. I met an old boy one time, and he said, hey, there's a deal of a lifetime tomorrow. There'll be another one tomorrow, and we tell ourselves like, no way, this is the last one. And then you drive around and you're like, wow, there's more trucks out here than I ever thought. And they're still out there. You know what I mean? And it's pretty crazy. Once you start really looking and seeing things. Do you have a style? You bought yourself a 64 F100 back in the day. Do you have a style that you tend to chase and fall in love with, or what's your go-to?
That's early on. It was 47 to 53 Chevy. I was a diehard AD truck guy. And I think that stemmed from when I was a kid. There was a landscape company in my hometown that used a stake bed 47 to 53. And for one summer, it seemed like they were working at my neighbor's house every day. So I'd see that black Chevy truck with their landscape logo drive by, and I thought, man, that would be so cool to have something like that. So that was really what I was after. I settled for the Ford, honestly, because I couldn't afford the AD Chevys were too expensive. As I could get the running driving 64 Ford for $2,000. The running driving AD Chevy was like 6 to 10, which was at that point just dreaming type stuff. So yeah, that's what I was into early, was just 50s era Chevy. And then I just started expanding. I was finding more stuff at different eras, and it's all unique in its way of its design, its style. So then I just started falling in love with the 30s stuff. I was always big into 30s cars. One of the first old cars I bought, fixed up and flipped, was a 37 Chevy. So I love the big bubbly fenders, all that kind of stuff. I grew up going to dirt track races too. My dad would sponsor a car with the body shop. And I always loved when they brought the oldies in. They'd bring in like these old coupes and stuff, and these old guys would be out just ripping them. That's one of my long-term goals. I'd like to race something like that, get an old car and do some of that dirt track, some of the vintage style stuff that I grew up admiring. I'd like to do myself. So I was always into just the style, the lines of the old cars. I wasn't into like the 70s, 80s, and 90s until probably the last 3 or 4 years. And honestly, a lot of that was people kept asking me, do you have this stuff? Do you have anything like this? Do you have any 70s? That's why I would say the 67 to 72 just started catching fire. And guys couldn't find short beds, so I was finding long beds, and I'd go find it one day, and the next day it'd be gone. So then all of a sudden it became square bodies. You know where any square bodies are? Yeah, my guy in the junkyard, he's got 4,000 cars, and there's a lot of stuff. I've walked by short bed square bodies 100 times, so I started grabbing those and bringing them back. So for me, going to the junkyard is kind of like a fishing trip. It's a lot of times I'll go there, I don't even know what I want, but that's what I told one of my buddies, Puddin', is a great day for me. A birthday is like going on a junkyard walk, finding something good, getting a good meal, dragging it home, getting it cleaned up, and then ideally trying to get it running. That's like, if I could do that every day, that's me living the dream, literally. So, I'm kind of doing that right now, so I can't complain.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I love that you're listening to your customer and you're saying, hey, well, I like them all. I like the story. I like the metal. But at the end of the day, I'm listening to what people need because I am evolving into a business. So I need to listen to my customer. And if they need it, I'll try to chase it down and find it.
Right. That's probably a little different aspect is I grew up in a family of businessmen and women. Both my parents owned businesses. My grandpa owned a business. My two brothers owned businesses. I'm the only one that wasn't an entrepreneur, so I was kind of left out. So I always grew up around table conversation of running a business, managing employees, this and that I didn't even know at the time, but I was getting an associate's degree in running a business just by listening to the conversation in my house. So that's my mom runs a little quilt store. I think she started when I was 10, so it's got to be 30, 35 years, super successful, selling quilting stuff you would never think could do good. But she's a dying breed, huge customer base, and they seek her out. So some of that's in my blood is I got to know how to run a business and I want to be sustainable and last. So at times I have to make hard decisions, say no to some things. That's just part of me. I see the long-term goal here is I want to set this up where it's a successful business that I don't want to retire ever. I want to be the guy like I see at these junkyards. The 80-year-old guy comes out who knows just an encyclopedia of old knowledge and helps you out and passes it on to the next guy. So that's really my long-term goal is I'm never going to stop working until they bury me. I want something I can sustain. I can't be a strength and conditioning coach my whole life. I can't get out and lift weights and run and show kids how to do all that stuff. So this is kind of, as I get in the second half of my life, is kind of the transition I've chose. Maybe it's chosen me. I don't know.
So you bought a C10 and it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their SureFit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Damn, son, the choice is obvious. VintageAir.com.
So you're thinking about converting your truck from a long bed to a short bed. Here's what you need. Brothers Trucks long bed to short bed conversion bracket. Includes laser-etched steel templates with all the holes clearly marked and steel inner C-channel braces. It also includes front-to-rear brake lines, shorter parking brake cables, hardware, and all the detailed instructions telling you what to do. You can also jump on Brothers' YouTube channel for a detailed, step-by-step video to make the process easier. Brothers Trucks has an easy solution for you, and they even offer bedside parts as well. BrothersTrucks.com.
Classic Performance Products, CPP back. Joe, let's talk X10 spindles. Go.
One of our most popular parts through the years has been our 2.5-inch drop modular spindles. Really popular part. Well, we've kind of taken that to the next step. We've emulated late model Corvette, Silverado, Chevy technology into our new X10 drop spindles. They use a steel hub, sealed bearing hub, really strong piece. It's oversized bearings. Definitely great for a guy using big brakes, big wheels, which I'm sure all your guys are.
You need a new spindle anyways. You're going to lower your truck. You're running a bigger wheel, a bigger brake. CPP's got it for you with their new X10 spindle. Joe, as always, thank you. CPP, classicperform.com. It's classicperform.com.
Sniper 2. Are you ready to switch out that old carb for a modern EFI system? Well, Holley has a solution for you. The all-new Sniper 2. This new system was redesigned from the ground up. Available in tumbled polished or black powder coat, and there's 3 available tuning interfaces. A classic 3.5 handheld, a 5-inch mountable, which includes a GPS speedo or a Bluetooth module so you can use your smartphone. Another big bonus is the Sniper 2 has a built-in transmission control module. So if you're looking to upgrade to a 4-speed overdrive, 4L60, 4L80, you now can with ease. Holley.com to get started today. Holley.com. Yeah, I love to hear you say you're not a businessman or business person when you were probably selling Pokemons, you were selling, like you said, you were selling baseball cards and paintball guns and scooters.
Stereo equipment in high school. I forgot about that one. I'd buy subwoofers, amplifiers. I'd install them. I'd beat the local rate. So I was always just trying to make a buck so then I could go buy something I wanted.
Well, you're a scrapper, right? So you'll make it happen. It's cool to hear you just kind of say that you listen to the customer, you know what you want, and you evolve. Do you ever get to a point where my example would be like a tin grill Dodge? So when you look at like where they left the swept lines and then they went into the tin grills, and they're pretty underperforming. They've got a unique style. Do you ever get to a point where you're like, I've already got 10 of those, I don't need 2 more, and they're not moving as fast, but when the one guy wants it, he wants it, and they have the Mopar tax, and so I just wonder where you're like, dude, I need square bodies, I need 72 long beds, I need bump side Fords, and I've got 10 of these. I don't need any more. Do you have something that you just can't keep in stock and something you got too much of?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the most popular is still probably the 47 to 53 Chevy. That's probably, well, that and Apaches. I get a ton of requests for 56 to 60, you know, a lot of 58, 59 true Apache stuff, but anything of that era. But I mean, if it looks good and it's got good patina and I got surplus money and it's there, I'll buy it. If I think it has potential, it has a good look, I'll invest in it. That's a lot of this for me is I almost use it as investments. It's like, okay, I'll buy stock in that. That 61 Chevy's a stock. Okay, cool. Let's buy it, see what it'll do for us. Kind of gamble with some things. If something's rare or I know the customer base is real thin, I may buy like 1 or 2 and see how they do. Or if somebody comes, you know, they're looking for just that rare truck. But like the 50s era Dodge stuff, there's just not many people looking for that stuff. So a lot of it is I have to be able to get it right on the front end. Is I can't overspend for something and then I'm just wrapped up crazy in one thing. Is I have to sit here and balance budget on 80 some trucks to know, okay, here's where I can be for this to survive. And if some guys are too much, I can't make it happen. Again, I think business really first. Does it have to make sense for me to get it? Can I do something with it? Let's see. I mean, as far as anything that I steer clear of, not really. I mean, I'll mess with anything, especially if I know it's a square body Chevy. I would say 50s through 70s Chevys, and now even square body stuff. Like if I got it and I advertise it, it'll sell. Honestly, in the last 6 months, I haven't hardly listed anything for sale. I just had people seeking me out. I knew I was getting ready to move, so I just tried to slow things down a little bit. And I don't think there's anything wrong with just sitting on this stuff. My biggest fear is it's tornado season. I wanted to get the stuff inside as best as I can. So every April, May, June, I sit here and go, please, nowhere near me now, as that's the reality of living in Oklahoma. So my thought is these cars survived out in the junkyard since when they were parked in 1960. I think hopefully God's on my side that they'll be protected throughout, you know, my life.
Yeah, something that you probably didn't have to deal with much at Iowa and growing up, and then you get down there and you're right in the vortex.
Yeah, in Iowa it was salt and, you know, the grime that killed them and blew them up. Down here it's hail. A lot of this metal's so thick though that hail doesn't phase a lot of these old trucks. My big thing was, you know, if a big tornado came in and whipped these all around, the saddest moment for me would be if they were tore apart and, you know, they had to get crushed. I'll never crush a truck. As long as I live, you can mark those words. I will not crush a vehicle. I'll have an auction. I'll give it away. I will not crush an old truck. Might as well put that on the bottom of my hat. Will not crush an old truck.
I think you need to have a new hat logo. It says, we keep them. We don't crush them.
Yeah. Do not crush. I will not crush.
Don't crush.
I see that happen. It's just, it's like you're burying a loved one. Just, that's it. That's a wrap. It's done.
Yeah. Yeah. It is sad. When you, let's do it. Let's do you like the AD trucks. Let's say you find an old 5-window and you take it in. What's the process? What are you doing? Do you try to get it running? Do you just vacuum it out and get the rats out and the rat's nest out? Do you walk us through what you try to do before it's something that you might sell? Or do you say, hey, it's for sale now, I just took it in, you're going to pay this much, and then every day or a week from now it's going to be more because I'm doing more to it, and kind of walk us through that journey of what you do?
Yeah, so for me, the first thing is just check it out and assess it. That's one of my buddies calls it processing, is see what all does it need? Does it have a chance that it could run? Is the engine all there? Have things been covered? If that's the case, then that's a good candidate that maybe we'll try to get it running. My standard procedure is I grew up detailing at my dad's body shop, so cleaning cars is no big deal for me. So I would say, where I have some better luck is I clean them up and I try to get them to present well. So I've cleaned more mouse turds and nasty stuff and carcasses and bones. That's where people don't understand is a lot of the work is nasty, dirty, grungy, that most people don't want to mess with. So when I give them a truck, a lot of that stuff's been clean. The floors are cleaned out. It's swept out. It's been power washed. So really that's my first out there, because it's guaranteed probably full of sticks, nests, all the other stuff. So if I can dump some of that, how close can I get it to where I can go to the power wash is usually the next stop, clean out all under the hood, clean out the inside, spray it down really good, try to get some pictures at that point if I can. And then get it back and then look, is it going to turn over? Can we get it turn over by hand? We'll dig into some will it runs. That's really what I want to do in my next chapter is I'm getting ready to fire up some YouTube. I'm not a mechanic, but I tinker a ton. So I got to, I can take a truck that's not running and probably get it to run or get it close and reach out to a couple of my buddies who can tell me where to go. So that's the next step is try to sell more stuff that's truly running. As I have 30 or 40 trucks that I call ran when parked edition that are right there and close. But for me, I didn't have the time to sit there and spend 2 or 3 days trying to get it to run. And then the guy that buys it might be LS swapping it. So he doesn't even care that I did that. And I put another $500 in a new carb and all this other stuff. So that was a little bit of my dad's advice was don't put a bunch of good money on top of bad money that a guy, may not be interested in. So biggest thing for me is it's got to have the right look. Does it have potential? Is the sheet metal pretty good? And then just getting them cleaned up where they're presentable, that somebody doesn't come and look at a truck full of dead rats and sticks and they're just grossed out. Is it something where they can have a vision? We're just kind of dressing up a dog that was all dirty and wet and mangy, and we combed him up, trimmed his nails, brushed his teeth, and hopefully a new home, likes him and says, hey, we can do something with that.
I find that I love what your dad said too. It's like, hey, people are going to probably LS it, or they're going to do what they want to do and put their spin on it. What I find, which I think is actually good for me, see where you're at on this, is some people lack vision. And I don't mean that like negative to them, but I can build a truck within like 30 minutes of seeing it. Like in my mind, I'm like up, down, tire, wheel. What would I do with it? And then that's the challenge, to have the restraint to not do that, but to create a vision for somebody so that they might want it. And then they really want it when they see the vision. So sometimes I'm like, man, I need a guy that can do some renderings and just create a cheaper rendering, because I feel like people don't have vision. And I'll give you an example. I've got a 76 K25 out here. I tried to sell it, what I thought was a pretty reasonable price. And then now once I say, okay, screw it, nobody's going to buy it for what I want for it, I'm going to build it. And then I build it and people are like, oh, wow, that's awesome. And you're like, well, why didn't you see it was awesome before? And it's like, are we all moving so fast that people just don't have that vision? And like you said, even the paint and the patina, you're like, oh my God, throw some WD-40 on there, throw some patina sauce and just revive it. And people just, have you found that you have the vision and that others don't, or where does that fall? Because you're ultimately trying to sell these things.
Right. I guess I wouldn't say that I have the vision, but others say that I do. I've consumed so much car media over the years. As I used to sit there and read cover to cover DuPont registries as a kid, all the Auto Trader magazines. I mean, I've just looked at hundreds of thousands of cars, and just what looked good is simple things, small changes, stance. But yeah, I think you're totally right. When people lack vision and creativity, and then how do I get there is, they don't know. If you're not a car guy, how do I get it lowered? What's that take? So some people don't even know, how do I change a title on a car? I helped a guy buy a truck and he was scared of the title process. That's what was keeping him from buying a truck. He thought the title process was some big nightmare, and it's not. So yeah, for me that's really why I put the white walls. I mean, I don't have to do that stuff, but that's just showing you a vision of what it could be. And it catches your eye. As you see an old truck with some white walls, you're going, okay, that thing looks kind of cool. Versus when I got it, it had no wheels and tires, was sitting 8 inches in the mud. The bed was full of scrap metal. That's not an appealing truck to anybody. So that's what's wild is I can take the same truck like that you couldn't give away. We give it a little bit of love, and all of a sudden it's turning crazy heads when I could put the same truck up a week ago with crappy wheels and tires, and I couldn't even get a hit on it. So really that's the wheels and tires, and just giving people a vision is what's allowed me to do what I do.
How about parts? If you're expanding from the perspective of the growth and selling it, is it something that you would want to get into parts as well? Or are you like, hey, I'm just going to take them in, clean them up, and move them down the road. We'll see where we evolve to.
If something were to happen organically, I would maybe get into parts. But right now, I'm just the one-man show, and that's what parts become overwhelming fast is you have to have a place to keep them. And that's, I have a parts collection that I never advertise, but a lot of it I keep for me when I buy a truck that needs a door. Okay, I have a door. I have 20 to 30 truck bed trailers here, but a lot of times you never know when you might need a bed. And guys sell those for $200-300, sometimes even cheaper, that if I see one, I just grab it knowing that, hey, that bed, if you go buy that bed from, like we were talking about, is a couple grand to try to get a decent bed. So I'm not necessarily in the parts business. One of the things I'd like to do with my new business is a guy left a ton of heavy duty shelves and I have a forklift. So I would like to possibly be a wholesaler for maybe a parts company, or possibly I'd like to distribute LS engines, is find a guy that's the scrapper that will do all the work to pull them out, but he doesn't have the marketing skills or the communication or the following to get people to come and buy them. So right now I'm set up. I'm trying to get some contacts going with people who do the pulling and the labor of that. And then I can maybe buy 10 to 15. I can store them. And my location is I'm real centrally located that I can get people these LS engines. I never drove an LS truck until I got my 56 Ford that's got an LS. Oh man, I'm driving an old truck now. I feel like, oh, this thing's archaic. The LS with the cruise control. I drove it up to Iowa for Thanksgiving, almost 1,200-mile round trip. It's just a game changer. And I appreciate old classic. Absolutely. I have plenty of those that we put around town, but to have some true modern day power in an old car that's got the patina. I mean, it's a conversation piece. My thumb was getting wore out from, yeah. Hey man, that's so cool. And that's where it's at for me, is the connection, the conversation. I grew up driving one of those and firing up some of the old memories. And I'll sit there and I'll talk all day to these people. I think that's part of what makes this go around, is letting those people relive some of the memories in that moment and then moving on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that was actually where I was going next, is the LS, the motor swap stuff. When you're running around through all these junkyards, there's probably a lot of motors, whether it might be a Coyote, whether it might be a Hemi, obviously LS, LT based. Have you gotten into that much? And would you even mess around with it? Or it sounds like you might find a guy and say, hey, go pull these 3 motors. I'll pay you for it because it's a waste of my time, but I want the motors and I want you to do it. And you've almost got another revenue stream that way.
Right. I know what my strengths are, is marketing, getting things out to the public. Social media is probably my best strength. So could I spend all day pulling an LS motor and bloodying my knuckles up? Yeah, I could, but honestly, I'm not looking forward to that. That's not something I want to do at this point. But if I can find a guy that wants to do it, that does not want to do social media, does not want to be the face of any of the business, but wants to do the work, that would be my ideal. We meet up, we work together. I can gladly buy these from you. I can find homes for them. And there's enough meat on the bone that we can all make this work. And then ultimately, we're kind of recycling some of the old car stuff, as we're taking, wherever the LS or the engine and giving it a second lease on life again versus being crushed. So that's kind of what I'm working on. I hope organically something can happen, but we'll just kind of see how it plays out.
Well, and it will. And before we went on air, for the audience, you're going to be listening to 312 when you hear this. 311 is going to be Jefferson Bryant, who wrote the LS LT swap and Chevy trucks, and he's got plenty of other books. He's actually from Stillwater, Oklahoma, where Zac is over in Norman. And I was just talking to him about that. And that's the evolution. I mean, the evolution of these LS motors, these LT motors in these classics is just, it's the next phase when you think about, everything, reliability, fuel, cruising, everything that we're going to do with them. So you teaming up with somebody, and there are people out there that they don't want to be the face. They don't want to do it. They want to just, their birthday present is going to the junkyard, sitting down with a burrito or a sandwich and pulling 2 to 3 motors and getting them loaded up and getting them to you and making their money for the day or the weekend. And you're happy to do it as long as, like you said, there's meat on the bone.
Right. And that's what I love working with people. That's really how I've come to rise even where I'm at, was just working alongside with other people, collaborating on some stuff. That's what the car community is, a special community. And even in Oklahoma, in this area, there's so many people that are into it. As you go to a town over, and it's like, wow, there's 10, 15 guys here who are diehard old car guys. And there's a common respect and decency and just kind of love within the old car community that I really enjoy. I grew up in it. I loved being around body men. It's a little rougher, tougher crowd. Language may be, a little gnarly for some, but I grew up in that. I love it. Those are my kind of people, just salt of the earth, hardworking, blue collar people.
Well, and you being in your, I mean, coming from sports and being in sports, I mean, it's not much different. Locker room talk and weight room talk is probably a little bit, although you're dealing with the younger generation, dealing with some of those salty guys, tough skin, both mentally and physically. You're not going to make them cry. So there is that. And I feel like that in the fire department where I work is you get a lot of that banter in that locker room and shit talking, if you will. So it is cool to see that evolution. Now you've got the new location. Walk us through kind of how that's going to work out.
So that was just by a stroke of luck. I started out just on a piece of property down here who was actually one of my student athletes at Oklahoma. It was his dad owned this dirt bike track. And I had told him about my vision probably close to 8-9 years ago. And his dad was a car guy who had just recently passed away. And he's like, come down here and you can keep them for free. This was probably 2019-ish. So I bought 1, 2, 3. Next thing I know, I had like 30 or 40 down there. And he had another spot I could move to. So this was like a year and a half ago. I moved to this other spot. They filled in a pond. It was a 1-acre pond. They filled it in, and that's what I was on. And then about probably a month or 2 ago, I got a call, and the pond that we had filled in, it wasn't on their property, which I thought it was. I guess I just didn't ask enough questions.
Whose property was it on?
It was the neighbor, but they were friends with the neighbor.
And the neighbor knew that was happening?
I don't know. They just told me I could move over there. And I said, sounds good. I don't need to ask a bazillion questions. But that kind of caught me off guard as he sent me a text and said, hey, I talked to the guy that owns the land you're on, and 60 days he wants you off there. And I remember it was a Friday night, and I didn't tell my wife. I didn't tell anybody. I just laid there in bed, and I was like, started sweating.
And how many would you say was on this 1-acre pond?
95.
You had 95 on 1 acre?
Yeah, I got them crammed in there all along the edge, 2 to 3 deep. Packed. It looked like a kind of a somewhat organized sardine can.
If I asked your wife at the time, said, do you even know how many he has? What do you think she would have said? 20?
She'd have no idea. She'd have no clue. That's the good thing is I'm married to a great woman, and she grew up, her family works in the car business. So her grandpa started one of the first DeSoto Plymouth dealerships in Indianapolis. They had a race car in the Indy 500 back in like the 40s. We got some pictures of that. So her dad works at a car dealership. All her brothers do. So she understands how it goes. And honestly, she sees that it's successful and doesn't ask a ton of questions. She's never even been to where my old trucks are. It sounds crazy, but she's a softball coach. She's a PE teacher. She's a great mom to our 2 kids. And she's just not into old trucks. She likes riding in them and loves that I'm into them. So we were really just a match meant to be that I don't get any sort of, oh, another one? Are you kidding me? There's nothing like that. It's support. Oh, that's so cool. She was mad that I sold one the other day because she thought our daughters would look good driving it. So it's a total blessing from there that I have her support that I don't. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't do this, to be honest. I wouldn't disrupt my whole life.
Well, it wouldn't be worth the headache at the end of the day, but It is cool. Or she's like, hey, it obviously makes him happy. I'm married to him. I love him. I want him to be happy. And like you said, match made in heaven. And she's happy that you're happy.
I actually talked her into buying probably 3 years ago. A good 1950 truck came across. Guy was selling cheap. It ran, drove. I still have it. And I talked her into buying it. That's what I told her. I said, this would be a good investment. I'm telling you, your savings, you're just wondering why you're not getting any money on your savings. Dig into this and let me show you what it can do. So
with me, I have, I have a pretty flexible schedule once I'm off duty. Are you ever sitting there and you're doing some sets and reps with the boys, you're writing up a plan and something comes hot over the marketplace, Craigslist, social medias, and you're like, Charlie, I need to leave right now.
Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT-based power plant? Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. What's up, guys? Who doesn't like to bundle and save? The team at UP Car Parts knows this, and they put together 7 different bundles for you to choose from to save up to 20% off of your lighting. From headlights to taillights to marker lights, UP Car Parts got you covered. upcarparts.com. Save up to 20% today.
You've heard me talk about my gauges, Dakota Digital. I love them.
Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com.
Are you ever sitting there and you're doing some sets and reps with the boys, you're writing up a plan, and something comes hot over the marketplace, Craigslist, social medias, and you're like, Charlie, I need to leave right now?
Yeah, that happens all the time. I'm an early morning guy, and now my workouts are in the afternoon. So there's many days where I hit the road at 5:30, 6, something like that, and I get everything done. That's what people worry. Like, what if you got a flat tire and you missed going, you weren't back in time? And I just don't live in that world of what might happen, what could happen, what might, set me back. I'm always like, if I don't go for it, I wouldn't know. So that's the path to where I'm at. So I just keep chasing it. And I'm always on the hunt. That I tell people is, I'll buy a truck tomorrow that I didn't know existed today. It just popped up, or somebody sent me a link. And that's where people make a mistake, is they sit there and wait, and then it's gone. Because I'm the guy that probably went and got it, because I don't waste any time. I'll grab my trailer. I'll tell my wife. She understands that if it's a good investment, it's really an investment into our future. So there's no issue. Okay, sounds good. Let me know when you get back.
How do you do that? And I don't want to jump too much into your personal finances, but do you keep a separate business fund that you're moving and shaking so mama's not losing her shit every time she sees the bank account? Like, why is there $12,000 out of the account today?
Yeah, I just have it started as just kind of my little truck slush fund, and that's what it's turned into, Old Truck Guy business account. So it was always just separate surplus income that I had just to kind of play with for the old truck stuff, and then I always kept it separate. And yeah, it just has its own account now, the Old Truck Guy. And
you got to have cash. I've tried to buy things over state lines, and guys are hilarious, man. And you're like, no, here's how I'm going to do it. I personally, I bought plenty of things sight unseen. I'll say, hey, I'll give you 5 or 1,000 or whatever. I'll send you the money. So then we're locked in. And then from there, I'll wire you the rest of the money, or when I come get it, I'll hand you a wad of cash, or, give me a couple of weeks to get all my affairs in order. Or sometimes I've even done this where, because I'm not buying stuff that's as old as you are buying, I've flown to other states, and then I'll just drive it home.
Absolutely. That's a tricky
fun.
part.
It's so much fun.
Tons of fun. That's for me, it's the adventure. It's the thrill of the hunt, the adventure, the meeting people, the finding an old truck that's been buried in the trees that we got to cut the trees to get it out. And then all of a sudden we sell it to a shop. They put an LS in it. Then they sell it. And this guy, Random Joe's driving this truck that I found in the weeds that we brought back to life. And now, he gave 70 grand for it all built up, and it's going. This was really the complete circle of, I was the one that started it, got it to the right guy who could build it. He got it to the guy who wanted to drive it. And now we got the circle of old truck life going.
Yeah. No, it definitely, there's a whole process there, and it's fun to follow that whole thing. And like I alluded to, even with the Lightning guy and plenty of these other people that I bought vehicles from, the guy that I bought my main truck from, which is called Orange Slice, it came from Montana, came from Great Falls, where my mom's from. And then I completely changed the truck. And then when he came to Arizona, we kind of surprised him, and I said, hey, let's go for a ride. And he just was like, I can't believe this is the same truck, and so there's that human experience again of the whole journey from, hey, you had it, now I got it, now this is what we're going to do with it, now let's go for a spin, or maybe the next guy that has it. You know what I mean?
Right. And those are the moments for me, is when you take somebody for a ride in an old truck that's never been in one or never experienced something like that. That's a moment that I do every day, but for them, they'll probably never forget that ride in that truck. So really that's where it's at for me, is the experience, just the whole life of it.
Well, again, you talked about the hunt, and if for, let's say, the audience, if you've never been out in wild game, or I assume you probably pheasant hunt, a deer hunt in Iowa. For us in Arizona, we do have, we don't have pheasants, but we do have a lot of big game, and it's an absolute adrenaline dump. It is, your heart will never pound as hard as it might pound when a huge bull elk is sitting there and you've got your bow and arrow crack back and you're ready to let one fly. And to me, there's a fun part of that in the hunt for these wild vehicles, and they're out there and you see them and spot them, and it might be a race to go get it before somebody else. I've watched trucks sit forever, and sometimes I'll go. That's probably the emotional letdown, is when I will go. Maybe something comes up on Marketplace and it's just a shit show. It's not even close to what the guy said it was. Just really, that can be a little bit of an adrenaline dump in the negative way. I had, I think it would be 2024. I had something come up and I was like, okay, I bought a ticket the next day. I think I spent about $1,200 went out and checked it out, flew home within one day. And I would say the guy picked me up in the airport in the vehicle. And within 15 minutes, I said, hey, let's just go eat some food. Let's go drink some beers. And then you'll just take me back. Like we are not even on the same, like, it's not even the same book. We're not on the same chapter. We're not even in the same, like you're
different language here.
Oh, we're just off. And I said, no offense, but you're not going to get what you think you want for that. And we're not even close. I wouldn't even want to consign this with you. We're just that far off. I love it, but you overpaid for that. And I don't know that you want to hear that. You know what I mean? So, but I've seen way too many guys get so bent out of shape and butthurt because they'll buy a $20,000, $30,000 vehicle and they don't look at it. And then it shows up and they're so let down. And you're like, dude, if you're buying 25,000 or more, you better get on a plane, or you better get a buddy to go look at it, or tell that guy to go in the garage and FaceTime and say, hey, I'll send you $100 bill for your time. I want you to FaceTime every single thing on this, because you'll get burned. And a Kansas City, a St. Louis, Missouri, his 7 is not an Arizona 7. And that's another story that I learned. When that thing showed up, I was like, bro, look at this rust. And he's like, oh, that's not that bad. And I'm like, rust is rust. Well,
that's common. They all rust there. That's normal.
They do. But in Arizona, and
No.
so we have to kind of, I think as an Arizonian or a high desert, you have to make the adjustment, and you have to know that zero rust is zero rust, right? Zero rust is zero rust. But when you tell a guy that's in the Rust Belt, zero rust, he's like, well, that is zero rust. You're like, no, it's not. That's rust. And they're like, well, it's really a low amount of rust. And you're like, it's still rust.
Yeah. Zero means none. There is some, right? So then it's not zero.
Yeah.
That's what's tricky, honestly, is I pride myself on being transparent with sales. That's one of the things I did early was I give you a full walk around. I show you the cab corners, the rockers, the floors, the frames, the above the windshield, all the stuff that I know when I'm looking to buy stuff, I want to see. And that's, I think, what established some trust with my customer base is I showed everything. I was one of the few guys to put 25 pictures in an ad versus most people use 1 or 2, is try to answer those questions and make you feel confident so you know what you're getting. Is I don't try to tell you it's not rust free if it's got rust. Here's where it's at. Is one question people ask me that I think is good is show me the worst parts. That it's hard to be on the selling side and have somebody ask you that, but show me the bad parts. That's what I want to see. And that's when people ask me that, that's a truthful question. Then I say, here you go. That's what I just sent some pictures to a guy. And, from a side picture, yes, it looks good. But when we start digging deep, there's a little rust in the rocker here and there. And he didn't want to buy it after he saw that. Totally cool. Is my track record will show that everything I've ever listed has sold, which is a few hundred. So I don't get worried that, this guy's not interested because there's another guy. Maybe I adjust the price. Maybe I remarket it. There's somebody out there that will probably be willing to work with it. And if I really got something bad, I just sell them as yard art. Is like I said, I do not crush, but I'm not against taking something that's rough and making yard art, turn it into like the fountain out front where it's on display. I'm just more anti-crush. Is we can do something like that. So I'll mess with a little bit of everything. I'll buy stuff that's super rough, but I know that it's rough when I buy it. Is I've had some where I showed up and the lady told me it was a short bed. I drove 6.5 hours. It was a long bed. GMC, 58 GMC. I drove to, it was one of those where I left work at 4 o'clock to drive through rush hour traffic to think I was getting a 58 teal GMC short bed that ran and drove. I was like, I'm on this. And I get there and I pull up, I'm going, this is a long bed.
Yeah.
Ah,
Did you buy it anyways and tell her? Yeah.
It was a nicer older lady, and it was an honest mistake. Maybe she just didn't know. But it was the same thing. There was one picture. It was from the front side where it looked like a short bed. It had perfect patina, and I drove to Table Rock Lake. It was like 6.5 hours. I just grabbed my trailer, boogied, got there, and then drove home the whole time thinking, oh man, lesson learned there. Ask for more pictures. But it was one of those. It was priced right. I thought, boy, if I don't act now, it's not going to be mine. And then I pulled in, and I thought, boy, that bed sure looks longer than 6 feet.
So I have a little confession on this one. I wonder if you've got this going on. I've got one that I know of that I paid for probably a year ago, and I still haven't went and got it. So do you ever do that where you're like, oh shit, I forgot, I still have that one I need to go pick up?
Thankfully, no, but I don't dabble. I feel like when you start messing with the online auction stuff or getting too far away, you start doing that. That's, I guess, up in Kansas, I bought some, or I've committed to buying some, and it's like a 6-hour drive. So that's the only place right now where I have stuff that I got to get. Otherwise, when I go to the junkyard, I just bring a wad full of cash, and then I just go walk around, and it seems like I find something that wasn't there the last time, even though it was, but I didn't see it. And that's, for me, I just like the adventure of digging around, knowing I'm going to buy something, but not knowing what it might be that day.
Do those guys call you? I mean, at this point, do you have like, hey, here's my card. When you get this in, call me because you know I'm going to come buy it?
Yeah, I got one place like that I've probably bought 70 trucks off of him. And that's what he's super grumpy. Every time I'm there, he tells me how there's another person that he doesn't like when it's him. He's the grumpy guy that's hard to deal with. But I grew up with those guys, so I just sit there and BS with them and listen to the stories and this and that. But yeah, he cleans up a ton of estates. He's just a local scrapper. So like he brought me a 58 big window fleet side Apache 2 years ago, and wanted like $1,800. I'm like, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. Thanks.
You couldn't get the money out fast enough.
That's what, he's like, well, the hood's in the bed. I don't know. And he sent me a picture. I'm like, dude, this thing is almost perfect. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, I assume that's a $10,000 truck when you get it all together and it's cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, it did really well. There's a few that are like home runs like that, and he's happy. A lot of times, if like that one, I throw him a few extra $100, which that keeps our relationship good. He knows I'm honest, and that's why I tell him, like, you're a little light on this. Here you go.
What about a slow dime over a quick nickel? What's your perspective on that? Where you come in and you price it, and now I think you're probably a little more slow dimey because, like you said, hey, these are investments. These are my stocks. I'm buying these trucks and buying these investments, and we haven't really even got into cars. So you're the old truck guy, but I'm sure you come across a 64 Rivy or a 66 Chevelle or an Impala or whatever. Do you how do you play that out where you're like, hey, this is a slow dime. I don't need to fret about the quick nickel.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends. If it's something I've been sitting on for a long time, that I just need the space, maybe I want the parking spot, I may sell it a little bit less. But honestly, if I can afford just to sit on them, is looking at market trends, I'm okay. I never overpay for anything. That's one of my, probably one of my strengths is even at an auction. If I get in a bidding war, I have a number in my head, and it doesn't matter how much I don't like that other person. I will not go over the number that I made in my head. That's just the business side of me. I will not overpay, even if I love this or that. I'll hope maybe they'll call me back and we can find common ground. So I'm never over my skis or in too deep on anything that I have to get rid of. That is like with this move, I wanted to clear for some space. Or if I know, say there's an estate that's coming up and there's going to be 20 trucks and I need to get some serious cash flow going, then I may drop some stuff down just to try to get some volume going. As my buddy says, sell this junk to buy that junk.
Yeah, for sure. You talked a little bit about that with the lack of a website as you get the new location up and running. Will you evolve to that? Because I think that would save you so much time.
Oh, absolutely. It'll save me a ton of time. I can't tell you how many times a day I send a whole camera roll of pictures to somebody to realize they don't like the truck when I could just send them a website and be on with it. So it was really, the website was just, I didn't have the time to commit to building that out. I'm not a big time internet guy. Like my brother can build a website in an afternoon. I would have to have that outsourced and done. So again, for me, that was an expense that I couldn't justify when I was just kind of doing this as a hobby on the side. So the next step is get my dealer's license. So that's all in the works now. That's the other thing is I was just doing it as a hobby. So I had to somewhat watch how much I was buying and selling. The reality is you can't just buy and sell nonstop without some of the state people coming and asking you some questions. So I'm in that boat a little bit. That's why I have to become a dealer. I don't know who it was, but somebody turned me in. Somebody turned me into the state used car commission. So they sent me some papers, sent me some dealer applications. That was probably a few months ago. So that's really why I got to go. And I committed to going, being a dealer, doing it the right way. I just grew super fast. I didn't expect to grow this fast. I didn't expect these trucks to come in and come out as fast as they did. So yeah, now I'll be official dealer. I'll have the website. We'll just be up and rolling like a real classic car dealer.
How will you balance that with the real job? Is that something where you have a timeline as a strength and conditioning coach where you're like, hey, it's 2025, by 2030, I'd like to be kind of evolving out of this and depending on how successful things are. And obviously, like you said, hey, I'm a dad, I'm a father, I've got to raise my kids and I've got to do all this. But at the same time, I think guys are really funny. We don't overthink it. We just jump in and we just get it done. And that's kind of a fun thing. It drives my wife crazy. I'm like, I don't need a business. I'll just do it. Like, why do I want to spend time, waste my time on that? I'll just do it and I'll figure it out. What's your evolution there? What's your best thoughts on that?
I really just kind of want to see how it happens organically. I have good rapport and balance with my day job. I've earned the right, what we call working from home. Like it or love it or hate it or whatever it is, it's allowed me to take care of my stuff at work. And then when that's handled, I don't have to be there. Like pre-2020, I had to be there, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. And naturally, this has kind of given me an opportunity to grow. So I kind of want to see how this goes with consignments. Is it feasible that I could stop my day job and just do this full time? So I just kind of want to see how it naturally progresses. If I start doing whole house clear outs, things like that, is there enough that I can make that I could say, hey, I don't need to work this job. I can naturally progress and do this full time, which that's really my goal. But as far as I don't have a timeline or it's got to be done by this, I've always just kept my nose down, worked hard, treated people right, and good things have come my way, I found.
Well, and I think ideally, I love your passion and what you're doing. What does happen, or I can tell you from my experience, I'm a little older than you, is I never thought I would slow down, but you start to slow down and you're like, holy shit, I'm working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and I love it. And but then you're like, okay. And then it's funny because I like the one thing you said, you're like, hey, I'm going to work till I'm 80. They're going to put me in the grave. I'm a worker. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, a wheel in motion stays in motion. I've seen that firsthand. What happens though, is you're starting to you're like, hey, I need to stop and smell the roses here. Mama wants to go on vacation. I want to go on vacation. I need to go see the kids or the grandkids. I don't have grandkids yet, but it just that you start to, I'm 51. And what happens is you start to have that, I guess, kind of that midlife where you're like, hey, I can't run at this speed and it's not going to just keep going. So essentially life is a balance. Once you figure it out, let me know. You could write a good book on it and people would read it because most guys don't have balance. We just go. And that's the fun part about it. But then eventually you try to figure out, I should have a little balance here.
So that's really like my longer term goal would be if I could consign some big dollar cars. So I could find a collection that has, a few $100,000 in cars that can make it work for me. And then I can slow down a little bit. That's really what I'm trying to go towards, is connecting with those people. I know there's some auctioneers right now. They're somewhat aging out. And I think they're losing a little bit with social media and they don't totally grasp how they can connect with people in the next generation with some of this stuff. And I kind of want to be one of the guys that bridges the gap with that stuff. I'm not old, I'm not young, I'm kind of in between. I work with college, 18 to 22-year-olds all day, so I can relate to them. I deal with the 70-year-old junkyard guy too. I can deal with that. I can obviously deal with people my own age. So just to be kind of, being able to work each side and connect some of these people on some of this stuff.
I would definitely say that's an absolute just barn burner of a plan. That's perfect. But start now. Hey, we're going to have our own auction, or we're going to auction off these 10 cars. Have you thought about that? Or trucks? Have you thought about saying, hey, every spring we're going to do a 10 truck auction. And then what's crazy is, right, you get people in and then you're like, well, these are the only ones we're doing. Maybe it's a proxy bid or something like that. But they're like, hey, I know Zach's got this. I know Zach's got this, and I want to buy this. And from a marketing perspective, I think you're doing that. That would be the right way to do it.
Yeah, that was really be my next step is having an auction. And if anything, I was going to try. I brought this to a couple guys and they shot it down. I may still do it, but they just didn't think auction was where it was at. But I thought with a good marketing plan and letting it just do its thing and run its course, I thought it could do well. Is not don't bring in 400 trucks where then you're just oversaturated. But there's so many farm trucks around here that if I took a few months, put out some flyers, put out some ads, find people who, did your dad pass away and his car's still sitting in your garage and you want to do something with it? Here, I'll come and get it. I'll do all the legwork. That's what I want to do is I'll be the one that I'll come and get it. I'll drag it home. You can just watch. You don't have to get your hands greasy at all. Or someday, hopefully I have a worker that, hey, we can go and do this and we can bring these things to public light. Again, where we can find a new lease for that old project that really is just one accident away from being done for or starting on fire or, being crushed or given away. So that's kind of one of my goals was to host a swap meet or a consignment type auction at my place or find some place common ground where people could bring the stuff to, and then we could do it. So that's what I'm working on now is grasping and understand how the auction scene works. I've taught myself my whole life, so I'll figure it out. I'm not worried about that. And then just I linked up with a guy in Kansas who has tons of links to all these thousands of cars. So in the next year or so, we're going to try to do an auction. That's our goal is. We may do it up there. He's thinking about transporting them down here. I mean, it's some really rare, cool stuff that's what I think is important. You have to have some good golden nuggets in there that are worth people coming and checking out. Is people have an auction and it's all turds, okay, and you wonder why nobody showed up. Is I started going to auctions with my grandpa on Sundays after church when I was like 5. And I would have $1 and I would buy a box full of stuff. So again, super familiar with the auction scene. I feel like my life has kind of put me into where I need to be with these experiences that I didn't even know when I was younger. So just kind of paved the path for me, I think, to be the best version of the old truck guy and then offer hopefully somebody an experience where I'm easily accessible. I'm not moody. I'm not a jerk. I can help them sell them, get what they want. They're happy. Everybody's happy. And the truck or car has a new home and it's in good standing.
Is your grandpa still alive?
No, sadly, he passed away when I was a sophomore in high school. He lived with us, mentored us, just a great guy, firm business owner. I mean, a little bit of that old school generation, not a loving, empathetic, but just hardworking, hard love, businessman. So I spent a ton of time growing up around them. So I probably spent more time with my grandparents as a kid than both my parents owned businesses. So either my older brother was babysitting us, which there's some ultimate freedom in that as I grew up on an open acreage with my older brother babysitting. So I'm glad I'm still here and didn't drown in a creek somewhere.
I was just going to say, you're lucky you're still alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really where my passion for a lot of this came is there was a bunch of old cars down in the creek I grew up in. So that's really, I think, where this started was as a kid. There was like old Model A sitting down there. I remember like hopping in and pretending I'm driving this old rusty clunker. And now I got some of these rusty clunkers that I can drive.
Yeah, super cool. I was just kind of hoping because I think you'd be really proud of like you said, they're a little harder nosed business guys, but as they get older and into that 70s and 80s, they soften up a little bit, and he'd be pretty damn proud of where Zach is today. So let's say the audience wants to know that right now, what you have, is it all available, and is it pretty much just your social media?
Yeah, that's what I always tell people is if there's something you're looking for in particular, let me know. Is I may have it, is I'll do some walkarounds or some posts where I'll post almost everything I have. But honestly, the worst part of today's social media is the spammers and scammers. Is I'll post a whole bunch of pictures of my walk around. Then the next day there'll be some scammers using all my pictures and trying to sell that truck. Which, I can't navigate that or I can't necessarily control that. But if something goes up, I get just tons of messages of someone saying, somebody's scamming all your trucks. And I feel terrible if somebody falls for it. So I don't post a ton of stuff with everything right now. A lot of for that reason is it's just kind of the dark. Even on my Facebook page, there'll be somebody impersonating me, the old truck guy, told somebody they want a free truck, contact them, and they'll call me. Did I win this truck? And it looks like a scam. The guy's name is not mine, this or that, but that's the modern day stuff. So that's what I tell people. If you're looking for something, let me know. I may have it. Or a lot of times I know where tons of trucks are just sitting that I can go grab for you. I can't put everything on my lot, but some of these junkyards, I know what they have sitting there. that if you want this, I can go grab it. If you need a short bed square body, I know where like 5 or 6 are just sitting there. Let me get you some pictures, make sure you want it, see the rust, and then if you agree, I'll go grab it, bring it to my spot, and if we need to ship it, I'll ship it to you. So that's the other thing, is I try to do a full 360. Is if you want an old truck, I'll facilitate all the shipping, I'll get it to your front door. All you do is pay the final cost and wait for it to show up. Is you don't have to navigate the wild west of what car shippers is. I'll do that for you. I'll load it and they'll show up and unload it. And you just, you pay the bill and it's yours.
Yeah, it's a concierge service. If you think about it, you'll do a little bit of everything. Do you have auctions that you like to attend that aren't just maybe the Kansas Farm Field auction? Do you have some bigger auctions, a Mecum, a Barrett, some of these higher end auctions that you enjoy going to?
I've gone to Mecum the last 3 years, and I go more for just to kind of spectate, take it in. My long-term goal would be to run some trucks through there, is ideally, even if it's through a consigning basis, but I really want to help people figure out how can I get the most for my car? Like, if you're selling cattle, how can I get the most for this cow? Let's make it look its best, get it performing its best. We'll do the work, and then get it sold for you. So a lot of it, honestly, is for me, is just observing, seeing what's selling, what's popular, what are people willing to spend money on, what are the trends, what's fading out, things like that. So a lot of that is I'll just search results of auctions, see what's trending. If I can get ahead on something, it's kind of like studying investment stocks, is what are the next up and coming hot thing, and can I find that and be on the front edge of that, where ideally I can do financially good for my business on that. So as far as local auctions, there's a few tow auctions that I've pulled just some steals out of. You go to a local tow auction, an old truck sells for like $500 because everybody's, oh, that thing looks terrible. So I've made some good money on some of those. But outside of that, I'll do some internet auction stuff, but a lot of my stuff is just junkyard and word of mouth based. And marketplace.
Do you being the old truck guy, do you ever come across a car deal that you're just like, I got to grab that, man? That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, if I think it's a good deal, and I think, like, again, it's a good investment that I know there's a better return than what I'm buying in for. It's got to be the right car, though. It's got to be a muscle car, something kind of rare, something unique. Tri-5 Chevy type stuff. It's got to be desirable. Otherwise, I'll pass it on to somebody that maybe is into that. Or a lot of what I do is I'll repost, and then hopefully I can connect the dots that maybe somebody that's into that can get it. So I'll do junkyard walks. And I spend all the time on my junkyard walk on my phone taking pictures. But that's because I want to share the stuff that I see. So ideally, like up at Bud Salvage, they do very little social media, but I post like 200 pictures, and I've probably sold 10 cars for them off my stuff. But I have no issue doing that. I'm happy to help and get some of the word out on some of that stuff, because this stuff's just sitting in a field, and they're sadly one doctor diagnosis away from being like, we're in a jam, here comes the crusher. So I try to steer clear of going down that avenue, and if I can just connect somebody with a car that they want that they can't find, I'm happy to be the middleman.
What would you say is the furthest you've ever driven to go, just like, boom, I got to go?
May have been when I went up to the Table Rock for that one short bed. That was just at the drop of a hat.
The long bed, short bed?
Yeah, the long bed, short bed trickery. So I probably drove 6-7 hours, just left on the drop of a hat, got a coffee and hit the road, and then got let down and drove home.
Yeah, that's those are fun. Those are funny. I look at a lot of this like growing up watching Gas Monkey and Richard. They'd go, truck and trailers pretty much always hooked up, ready to go. Got to be ready quick. I assume you have the same thing. I got 5 buddies. I mean, I get a Facebook text almost on the daily, like, "Hey, did you see this?" And you call the guy. And what's another thing that's crazy for me is how on Marketplace, for example, and sometimes Craigslist, but different sale points, and you'll be like, "Okay, Zach, tell me this, and this," and then the guy just like never responds. And you're like, you're the one selling this, and you're just like, nobody's there. And then you'll see that it like sold or something. I don't know. I'm just like, what in the hell? Sometimes, it's just, sometimes I'm like, is this a scam? And I'm sure there's a little bit of everything.
That's what's unique with Marketplace is there's no requirement, for the seller. It can be the grumpiest old guy. And I've had tons of horrible experiences, but honestly, they're in one ear, out the other, and I'm on to the next thing so fast that I can't even sit there and cry about it. But yeah, that's the tricky part, is dealing with people, is the art of somebody selling something. And I've seen people take horrible strategies where, okay, come Saturday at 10 and whoever bids the highest in person at 10 a.m. will own the truck. And I'm like, I'm out on that. I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
That's what there's just around here. There's just too many trucks. That's what my dad always says too, is there'll always be another one. There always is that's, I'll cry over one that I lost, and the next day I don't even think about it because now I'm hunting hard and heavy for something else.
Good. Yeah, they're out there. It's kind of cool to watch this. When do you think you'll be fully up and running at the new shop?
Probably, I had to clear off the previous tenant got evicted, so they left a mess, and I've been spending countless hours. I had to move 100 pallets yesterday so I can move my trucks in. That's what they were. Like the wastewater management for some of the oil drilling and things, they had all the pumps, so they had all this heavy machinery, and they just left the place a super mess. So I got it at a decent rate from my rent, but knowing that I had to do a lot of the footwork, leg work, and labor that went with it. So I'm hoping by the end of this month we got a ton of rain this last week. So right now everything's super mushy, but it should dry up by the end of the week. And then I got a rollback, and my plan is to move. I'm going to film it, but 30 to 50 trucks a day. I'm just going to set up my GoPro, gas up my rollback, and I only have to move them 1,000 feet. This was a huge blessing. And I moved into the property that's next door to me. The timing lined up.
The pond, not pond.
Yeah, the filled in pond that, yeah.
All the water, you said it rained a lot and it's mushy. That's because it didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, you can tell. I got a guy who wants a truck, and his is parked in the back where I said, Mother Nature doesn't want you to have this quite yet. Just give me a couple days. Or we could get it out, but it'd be filthy because the pond shows that it was a pond at one time.
Do you require a deposit on most stuff like that?
Absolutely. If you don't want to put a deposit down, there's no chance that I'm holding it for you. I've been burned countless times by people. I'm good for it. You can take my word. I've never burned somebody in my life, and somehow I'm the first guy that they burn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want something, without a deposit, there's zero chance I'll hold it for you.
What's old truck guy deposit? 5, 1,000?
Usually I say like 5 or 10%, and that's
okay.
So I'm reasonable. A lot of times $250 to $500. And that's what I tell, if you're willing to lose that, okay, sure. But yeah, that's what I used to not require a deposit. And that's what I'd say, no, good faith, I'll hold it for you. I trust you. And man, my ass is charcoaled from how many times I got burned on those deals.
That sucks. I feel bad for you that way. I will admit, I actually sent money to a guy once. Let's just say it was 1,000. I actually think it was more than that, but let's say it's 1,000. And I went to go buy, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to buy it. I shouldn't have sent you the money. I did. I hope that you'll give me half of it back. That's why I think it was 1,000, because you completely misrepresented this. Like the amount of rust was, I think it was. You're
nicer than me. I would have demanded it back if it was misrepresented. I would have been mad.
To me, I just didn't want to fight with the guy. I was like, you know what? But actually, I think he knew it was right, and I think there was some good faith there where I thought, hey, at least give me this back. And he did. He gave me all the money back, the $1,000. And he didn't want to, but I was like, bro, I completely am proving to you why you misrepresented. And the good thing was it was only like 45 minutes to an hour away on the other side of Phoenix for me. But yeah, there was, again, for the audience, just save yourself the hassle and just, if you're dealing with somebody who's not giving you all the pictures, it's not going to be good. Every now and then you might luck out. If you want to play those odds, 5, 10%, whatever.
But the odds aren't in your favor. That's probably for sure.
Yeah. And in today's world, if a guy can't walk around with his phone and take some pictures,
it's going to be hard to deal with.
We're not talking about the 90s where you had to like download shit, right? This is like literally snap a few photos, ask them specifically, cab mounts, rockers. Is there a build sheet? Can I see the tailgate? I mean, there's 10 questions to ask. And on the other end, if you're selling, just represent what's out there so you're not wasting other people's time, because eventually what will happen is you'll waste your own time, because people are going to show up, if you even get them to show up anymore, and they're going to be like, eat a dick. This is not even close to what you portrayed it to be.
Right. And that's, for me, it's easier to deal with honesty and even some of the harshfulness of, okay, this truck it's not a 10, I'll tell you that. Maybe it's a 4, and I want you to know that, so then you come here, you're not all mad at me, okay, then realize maybe it's not the one for you. But that doesn't mean I'll probably find one that you will like. So just stay tuned. This one may not be it, but I'll try to find one for you. Yeah, and there's nothing worse than showing up and being totally misrepresented and scammed, which I got scammed for my first time a few months ago. I had been playing for 10 years, hadn't been scammed, and I got scammed.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, and let's learn from it.
Yeah, so I hadn't messed with Craigslist in a while, but I had found some gems. I found I got a 1980 K5 Blazer. That's an absolute home run. That was super cheap. So I kind of fired up the Craigslist again. This is going back to last May. And then probably 3 months ago now, I think it was a 1950 baby blue 5-window came up, and they said they were down in Dallas, which is, 2 hours. I could do that. So he says, I got a ton of people hitting me up. The same story you always get, a ton of people hitting me up. He told me the story. It was his dad's. His dad had passed away, clearing the property, sent me the pictures of the property, sent me the address where I could come meet him. And so I sent a $200 deposit, and I said, I'll come and get it tomorrow. So I posted on my Instagram that I had just locked this truck down, and I was going to get it. The guy messaged me and sends me a picture. That's my truck. I'm in California. And I just go, oh, shit. So then I try to call the guy. I can get hot-headed when I need to. I don't know. I'm an old football coach too. So that's what I tried calling the guy back, and I was just going to light him up. But he didn't answer. The ad was down. I just chalked it up to, I've won a lot. I guess I got to take a loss every once in a while. And I'm glad I didn't send 500. And that's where I'm a little hesitant on big deposits for that reason right there is, okay, I can take a $200 loss. I'm really thankful, honestly, that the guy on Instagram sent me and told me it was his truck, because I had my truck and trailer, and I was getting ready to pull up to an address in Dallas where there was going to be nobody and nothing. And I would have been ready to burn the town down.
Yeah, I think you losing 200 on that was a blessing in disguise, in the perspective that now you'll be a little more cautious. Not that you weren't, but that guy saved you from, 2-hour drive to and fro. So really 4 hours plus fuel plus time. So you're like, man, $200, just whatever.
Lesson learned. Business expense. We should have been more thorough.
All right, guys, if you guys are out there and you're looking for an old truck or something that Zac's got, it's pretty easy. Don't forget the THE, the old truck guy. He's in Norman, Oklahoma, in the center of the world there. He can find it for you, and be patient, because he's going to be doing some moving here, but 30, 40 trucks a day. What do you got now? Inventory wise, how many do you think you have?
Probably close to 90.
Okay. Yeah, 90 trucks.
It's ever growing. I'm buying more than I'm selling at this point, which I'm okay with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anything we missed? Anything you want to throw in there to the audience about this fun journey? And if I used to always say, if you want it, I got it. If I ain't got it, you don't need it. So he'll get it. If he ain't got it, he'll get it.
That's what I would say. Stay patient. Is like I said, I don't know what I might find tomorrow, and it may be exactly what you're looking for. So follow along on the adventure. I try to be transparent on my social medias. I'm on my Instagram every single day. You can just become my friend on there. I met a guy recently, and he said, I feel like I really know you, but you don't know me. And honestly, that's what social media is about, is I try to connect with people where they know me. They get a feel for what I'm doing. Hopefully they find it. I try to be authentic and just, I'm an old truck guy. I like old trucks. I like old cars. And then the next step would be just when we get the kind of the dealer thing up and rolling, is if you have an estate, if you have an old truck, something you're looking to get rid of, I would say, give us a chance to see what we can do for you. Not quite yet, but we'll be there soon. And I try to get 5-star reviews on everything, treat everybody respectfully and decent, and hopefully be around for a while.
Yeah, I love it. What would you say, kind of popped in my brain here, what's one of the craziest requests? Have you ever had anybody want an old Studebaker or anything off the handle there?
Yeah, some of those old rare, there were so many companies making cars and trucks, I feel like, coming off of World War II, that there's some the old Hudson car truck looking things. Anything pre-World War II, as so much stuff got smashed and just put forth into the war effort, that there's not a ton of late 30s type stuff around. Nothing super rare. A lot of guys, they're just looking for an old truck. They want the old Ford that their dad drove them around in, things like that, and just to rekindle that memory. And a lot of times it's older guys that are retired that now have the financial status where, okay, I can spend some money in a truck and enjoy it. So if that sounds like you, I'm happy to help you find it. I could get you linked up. There's a local builder by the name of Shady Nook Classics he does all the LS swaps around here. It may be worth getting him on your podcast. He's just a worker bee. He grew up in a scrapyard family, just does awesome LS builds on Cameos. He does LTs, all the wild stuff. Just does top-notch work that I would like to work alongside with him. I've sent probably a few trucks that went from my lot straight to him for LS build type stuff. So that was what I wanted to do 10 years ago, but I just don't think I'm in the position right now to manage with work another full-time job to manage a shop. It just, the quality wouldn't be there.
Yeah, and it's pretty, again, remarkable that you're cognizant of that and realize, hey, I don't want to cause myself more headaches by taking on more than I can handle. Let me just be able to handle. And I think people see that and they see your approach. And like you said, coming back to like treating everybody with respect and knowing, hey, if I can't find it, I'll tell you, I'll point you to the guy that I think can, and we'll get you squared away. And at the end of the day, we just want happy customers.
Right. And that's what I just want more people involved in the old car and truck community. Is we're losing old car and truck connoisseurs by the day, and kind of the older generation is, so can we fire up some of these, even kids in their 30s, 20s, can we get them into this stuff so this stuff can last? Is, for me, it's an awesome environment. I think it's a good environment. There's some partying and some good times had, but for the most part, it's quality guys doing quality work that treat people right.
So I know you said, I'll take you out with this. You'd like to keep 10 to 12 of them. You got one, I give you $150,000 at the beginning. You said, hey, I initially started doing this, whether it was paintball guns over to scooters to turning and burning on trucks and cars. What's your go-to? What's your dream truck?
I mean, honestly, for the longest time, it was a 5-window, and I got one. I've always been one. I'll set a goal and I just work towards it, and I don't stop until I get it. So that's what it was, a 5-window. I got that. And I really wanted a 37 Chevy Coupe. Most recent is I want an old hot rod, like a 32 Ford, High Boy, something like that. I grew up loving that stuff too. I'm the old truck guy, but man, I love an old hot rod just as much as the next guy. So that'd probably be the next stop for me, would be an old 30s hot rod. I almost sold my old 41 Coupe. I got a 41 Oldsmobile Coupe out of a museum in Minnesota. That's gorgeous. I'll send you a picture of it. And I was going to sell it to buy a hot rod. And that was where my wife stepped in and said, please don't do that. Do not sell that museum car for a hot rod. And I almost said, you're almost just going to have to watch this happen. But somebody intervened. I don't know. The guy sold the hot rod and I couldn't get it. And here I am still with that.
Yeah, so. meant to be. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you taking time to talk about this journey. And again, for the audience, just get him on social. The Old Truck Guy. He's got a lot of things going to happen. 2025 is going to be a fun year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're in uncharted territory here. We got a brick and mortar place. I'm used to just laying in dirt now. I got a shop floor, hoping to get a lift. We're really on the way up, so just follow along and help support if you can.
Awesome. Zac, as always, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks. See ya.
That's a wrap. 312 in the books. Thanks for tuning in. Zac, as always, thanks for your time. Good luck out there in Oklahoma. Enjoyed getting to know you. I hope my audience does as well. And for you guys, give them a follow. Check them out. If you need any weather stripping, vintage AC, Dakota Digital, some wiring, PSI, let me know. BigSkyClassics.com. Have a great week, guys. Late.